talk about Brunersburg very long, but how many of you know where Brunersburg was?
Still there.
You could buy the sign every once in a while at Brunersburg. Anyway, from the Defiance paper, on January 26, 1922, Brunersburg was larger than Defiance before that, in other words, earlier. And at one time, it had, let's see, where is this? Oh, a greater population than Defiance. The people had to come in there to vote. And that was before 1845. Anyway, the reason I brought this or picked it up was that recently there've been a bunch of tornadoes, and that's what happened to Brunersburg. At one time it had 4 saloons, 3 of this, 2 of that, and they all blew away. So finally all you have left is a sign at the side of the road. Another one that I'm not going to spend much time with, Anthony Hilbert, who was deceased at the time, was born in Germany, and he was the source of the money that eventually built the Hilbert after its other opera house had burned down. And today I'd like to talk to you about Hearts Girls Band. Did you ever hear of it? That's good, because after I did this, I got to thinking, not too many of you would have remembered about Hearts Girls Band. In our case, when we were kids, little boys mostly, once in a while some girls, we had a band, and our leader had been a member of Hearts Girls Band. And we had vaudeville performers, former ones, who were now depression ill, who were living here because they couldn't make a living anywhere else, that also helped us with this boys' band. So, Hearts Girls Band came into existence. Am I yelling too loud?
No.
No, perfect. Anyway, this is the story of one of the girls in Hearts Girls Band, about 1922. It came into existence the year of my graduation, and I wanted to join the band more than anything else, but you had to have an instrument. And finally, my father gave me 2 rows of soybeans to block and hoe for the summer, for the spring. And with that, I came up with $8. This is the young lady talking. I came up with $8 to pay for a used clarinet. I later traded it for a better one, but we had lots of fun. 8 or 10 girls in my class belonged to the band, and we welcomed the opportunity to play for an occasional school entertainment with our small combo. Hearts Girls Band of 24 musicians soon gave me that opportunity. And I also got the impression that there's no business like show business, because we had a great opportunity. Under the capable direction of O.V. Hart, we became internationally known, and his rules were very simple. No smoking, no drinking, but a Coke was all right. We were all given private lessons, and we were the only professional all-girls band in existence. This would be in the early 20s. I'm trying not to read this, and I'm sorry, I probably better go ahead and read it. Although I'm not a gifted musician, long hours of practice paid off, and I chose to play the flat clarinet, but later decided on trumpet, cello, bass fiddle, and tenor banjo. My sister Frida, this is one of the Porter girls who is speaking. And some of you will remember that this lady was a nurse for Porter DeMuth, who got his name from the fact that his mother was a Porter. So again, we're going back in history quite a way. Early band days at the Hilbert Theater, which was very important in the 20s, were more rewarding for our concert there, with vaudeville skits several times a year, and we were actually paid to play. Our first uniforms were white with some blue and some, I'm sorry, terrible. Anyway, they were made by our parents. Our next ones eventually were made by the Eula Lee Garment Company. That's not that far back. That's in the 30s. Those were flowered crepe pajamas, and they were beautiful. Some white with red flowers, some in white with green flowers. We initiated them at the Defiance County Fair in Hicksville. Later, a salesman came from Chicago, and we were all measured for uniforms. They were beautiful, black wool with trims. And capes. I'm going to have to speed up on this, I'm sorry. We kept in practice by playing in the Methodist Sunday School Orchestra, Grace on bass, fiddle, Ruth on drums, Frida on clarinet, Kathleen on piano, O.V., who was the leader, a jeweler who had the jewelry store with the street clock. Do you remember the street clock? I don't know what happened to it. If I had thought about it earlier, I would have tried to run it down, but it was too good to have been junked. Somebody must have driven through town and decided they would either steal it or buy it. But this was a pretty good sized thing down here in the middle of the block. Every Wednesday evening from 8 to 9, we gave street concerts. People parked downtown earlier in the day so they would have a good place to sit and listen to the music. And the band was on a rickety old hay wagon that we pulled into place that afternoon as our bandstand. Those people who heard Lucille whistle the glowworm would never forget it. Among a few years of street concerts, it was time to take to the road. Each spring, the B&O Railroad would send their travel agent here to work out our trip for the summer. I just noticed an item in a paper recently too, that on this trip that they were on the train they were on, there were freight cars. How else do you plan to hit little towns here and there for a band? So they had a private car that was hooked to these freight trains and could be pulled into place wherever they were expected. In 1922, we played 10 straight weeks, every afternoon and evening. And after 10 weeks, we were back home. Outside of Buffalo, our engine derailed. No one was injured, but the boxcars spread a few pigs. In fact, you could say they were hogs all over the area, so the train had to be held up until the hogs could be captured and put back in their freight car. Falls was breathtaking. En route to Norfolk, we found that our B&O engine was displaying a banner, Hearts Girls Band. Arriving at Norfolk, the sailors cut the telephone lines before crashing the door held by Gladys and Iva, while the other two rolled the bed against it. Closing, very, very nice people in the 20s. Closing in Norfolk, we boarded a beautiful in California, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. We played many bands and many fairs. Many of the girls sought a different walk in life. The band dwindled to 10 pieces. O.V. Hart signed with a new booking agency, and we were known as the Scotch Lassies. We had knee-length pleated skirt, blue shirts, jackets, and we were a good-looking band representing the Hicksville. We honeycombed southern New York State, Ohio, and a few surrounding states with the McIntyre Circus, based in Massillon, Ohio. We loved all of the, we stayed with the circus 3 seasons. We had one windstorm. We learned about tents. Even staying against the pole wasn't a safe place to be. We barnstormed honeycombing the maritime provinces. In Yarmouth, the Fraternal Order of Firemen's Circus, every night was a sellout. On to Halifax, then on to Glace Bay. At the fishing pier, we saw a tuna as big as a cow. I asked to go out fishing, but they said it was too dangerous, too hazardous, and every time one of the girls would get sick anyway. Frida, Queen, Mabel, some of these names will mean nothing to you. They don't always mean a last name to me. Bernice, Olive, and a couple of girls went down into a coal mine where the miners were maintaining a vegetable garden. Corner Brook, our next stop, the boys pitched a tent and we played for a week. Am I going over?
No, you're fine.
In fact, for most of you, I'm sure this is boring. You Hicksvilleites would recognize some of the names if I would keep them straight. After covering 500 miles by narrow gauge railroad, we were in St. John's, Newfoundland, where every morning we were served beans for breakfast. Eva sent hers back one morning, and she got them right back. That's all you were going to get for breakfast. Back home, O.V. as O.V. Hart organized the Ten of Hearts. The roster included Melba Bowman, trumpeter, Christine Garrott, violin, Bessie Porter, which some of you knew, Frida Porter on the sax, and clarinet, Lottie Porter, I beg your pardon, and banjo, Marion Carell, trombone, Edith Hart on the drums, Eva Miller, pianist, and Bobby Stevens, dancer, and O.V. Hart, of course, director. I could refer to my father on this, but he was a little guy at the time, fresh with a clarinet, put in this boys band that were most of them older because of what was happening with World War I. So many of them were back in the service. And I can remember my dad saying the main instruction you got from O.V. Hart was, put that horn in your mouth and blow. We just didn't come up with enough volume. And it goes on about their gypsy costumes. I'm not keeping you this too long. Alas, the building that was our band, and this is the way I remember them best of all. The family went out of the business of a jewelry store. The girls owed a little rent because they'd kept the place for practice. It was upstairs above the clock. And Edith, Bess, and I paid the back rent. We all went our separate ways, each selecting her own walk in life. These were 15 beautiful and fulfilling years. What I remember is every evening in the summer, as you were uptown or walked down the street, you would hear the girls still blowing their horns and what have you, until this time she mentions. And there were times when we bought our boys band, who was directed by a former boys band person. We would go to Mark's Center on Wednesday night, or Sherwood, or some other place, to bring business to town. And of course it gave us something to do. So this is sometimes 12-year-olds, 13. The guy beside you often would not play as he should, and you try to instruct him. And that didn't work out well when he was larger. I'd like to thank you for your time and hope that you might want to remember and look up not only Hart's Girls Band, but Hart's Boys Band, which World War I broke up. And they were known from as far northeast as you could go in the Canadian provinces and southwest, and they put Hicksville on the map. Thank you.